Hi, everyone. Welcome to childbirthwithgrace.tv. My name is Elia Blandina, and I'm your host for today. And as always, my intention is to awaken your life power by helping you tap into your personal birth journey. And today I have a great pleasure of interviewing Miss Jenny Johnston all the way from Australia. So
Yeah,
I'm excited. Welcome, Jenny.
thank you.
Let me tell you a little bit about her before, because we're just really wanting to get started talking, because she has great stuff to share with us today. Jenny Johnston is a trained occupational therapist and whose passion turned to hypnotherapy and past life regression after she read the book Many Lives, Many Masters. After a spinal injury and an operation, Jenny took time off to study hypnotherapy and advanced her skills to past life regression hypnotherapy. During this time, she also learned EFT, which is short for emotional freedom techniques, which is tapping. And she also became a trainer for EFT. And what she then went on to do was she blended her spiritual knowledge with EFT, matrix reimprinting, and past life regression to create what is called quantum EFT and mining the Akash. After running several workshops and many private sessions, Jenny wrote her best-selling book, Tapping into Past Lives. There it is. And it's a wonderful book. It's just, look at that picture. And she features in that book. It's a wonderful read. You'll be mesmerized. She features many amazing lifetimes and lessons that from her students who have experienced major change and shifts from healing their past lives. Join Jenny and discover how, when you clear past life drama, trauma, and unfinished business, your life now shifts dramatically. And when you go into the positive of past lives experiences and activate them, you can actually bring it forward to this life and bring that knowledge and wisdom into the now as well. So, and all of that all together just completely transforms how you live your life and how you can just be more of who you are. So, Jenny, welcome to TV.
I'm glad to be here from across the world, and it's
Yeah,
and it's your night. I've got the sun coming in.
yeah,
It comes in and it comes out.
you
Because
actually know the future over there.
yeah, that's right. And I'm in Melbourne, and we have 4 seasons one day, so the sun will come in and go, and
Okay.
but yeah, it's all good. So yeah,
Jenny, tell us about your path to finding EFT, because we all have that moment where we suddenly come across this wonderful technique, or actually it's multiple different techniques.
Yeah, I really loved Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and I always wanted to get into that. The way that I sort of fell into it was as an occupational therapist, I'd always done relaxation therapy with people, and I was very good at it. I worked at an outpatient hospital doing relaxation therapy full-time. Well, full-time on the 2 days that I was working after my first child. And people with stress and with anxiety would have amazing healings, and the doctors from all around were sending them to me because of these relaxation therapies that I was doing with them, which was very much guided meditation and guided visualizations. So I seemed to be a natural at it. And then when my mother died suddenly in 99, I very much got into the near-death experiences and spirituality. I went to a psychic development circle, and it was through that process that I was connected with this woman who ran the psychic development circle. After I'd had an experience of after my mum died, my marriage broke up, and I'd met this guy. I'd been with my husband since I was 15, right? My first boyfriend. Went to a girls' school, married my first boyfriend as soon as I turned 20. And so for me to think about being in another relationship was very scary. Yet 2 months later, I met this guy in a pub, and there was an instant, I know you, and we both felt it. And so he was very much into spirituality too. So we both went and did a past life regression with someone. And I discovered then that he was my husband in a past life. In fact, he died in the American Civil War. It's no wonder I have a great affinity with America, because I lived there in my last life. However, what had happened was that he had told me, I was pregnant at the time when he went to war, and he promised me that he would be back, right? And he died in the war. So it was like in this lifetime, he had to fulfill that soul promise and come back. And so we connected. We had an amazing couple of months, but he was 10 years younger and was training in the Navy, and off he went. But after 2 weeks, though, he said to me, "Don't get attached. I'm not here for long." So he was changing his soul promise. He fulfilled his soul promise to come back. But then he said, "But I'm not staying, basically. Don't get attached. I'm not here for long. I've come back because I promised you I would, but I'm not here for you in this lifetime." And that was very hard for me to understand at that time. But that's when I then went to clairvoyance, and I joined the circle, the development circle, and I learned Reiki. She became my Reiki master. And then it was when I had this spinal accident that the universe gave me, where I had left foot drop because of a chiropractic movement that broke off a prolapse into my spine. And so I had to have time off my full-time work and had spinal surgery. And during that time off, I began studying part-time hypnotherapy. And during that hypnotherapy studying, which I did over a period of 2 years, I was introduced to EFT. But also throughout my spiritual journey, I'd come across Cryon, the work of Cryon, and the teachings of Cryon. And Cryon talked about mining the Akash and how we can go into past lives and find, not only go into past lives and clear the negatives and the blocks and the traumas, the unfinished business, and clear them so that they're not affecting us now, but we can also go back and find the good stuff and bring that forward and connect with it and activate it into our DNA. And so when I met with Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, and told him about my ideas of activating it through the meridian system through tapping, and using my past life regression skills to do that and combine everything that I had with his teachings, he said, yes, go for it. That's exactly what Cryon is teaching. And so I started running the workshops, Quantum EFT and Mining the Akash. And then I caught up with him again and told him how it was going and what I was doing. And he said, okay, now you need to write a book and do the workshops around the world. And I've gone, oh, okay. And so then Tapping into Past Lives was born, which has a lot of the stories from people's experiences in the workshops, as well as some of the private experiences. And since then, I've gone on to run the North America tour last year, which I'm about to do again in another month. And I'm going to be creating online workshops as well. But mainly what also came out of it was doing more and more private sessions with people like you've experienced as well, and then going on and creating Transform Your Life program, where people didn't want just one private session, but a series of them, where we really look at, okay, now what else has happened in your past lives that's affecting you now, and what else can we go and retrieve, and how's that going to affect you now? And a lot of it has come up around childbirth as well.
It's amazing. I know firsthand I've experienced your work. In fact, I when we met in a different class all
Yeah.
about EFT, but and once we met, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna have to keep tabs on Miss Jenny because she was like always videos, and I learned a lot from watching the videos and different things like that. And then when you when you made the book, when the birth of the book happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like first in line getting it on Amazon, and I was just reading right through it while it was still in the Kindle. So I was like, reading. And then the next thing you know, yeah, you said you were going to come to the United States. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to somehow make this happen. So I did.
Yeah, you
And
flew
I got
across the country. Yeah.
Yes, I did. If not many of you, if you don't remember, but I'm all the way in Florida, and the way it happened, the closest you were coming actually on my side was New York, I think. So I couldn't get to the New York one, but I could get to the one in with Santa Ana.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my sons lives out there, so hey, get to visit my son and get to meet Jenny and do this wonderful workshop. So um, it's just amazing to me how much it helped me right away, and
It's
but
surprising what it uncovers, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's amazing what it uncovered. I think you still have the video of me tapping or something. If you go to your what is it? What's the website that people should go to get more information? Might as well talk about that.
Tapping into pastlives.tv.
Yeah, tapping into pastlives.tv.
And I've also got the YouTube channel, EFT Australia, one word, where I've got a quantum EFT playlist.
Nice.
But yeah, particularly that video of you that I've called "They Sewed My Mouth Shut."
Yeah.
So, where you were.
Catch that. You'd see me in all my glory.
Yeah.
But it's powerful stuff. So tell us and the viewers, how important is it for women to clear what I guess I've heard you coin soul blocks before or even during pregnancy? Tell us, how important is that?
Well, for a start, I've had many stories where people are trying to get pregnant and have been having difficulty. And when we've gone into past lives, like there was one lady on one of my workshops, when we went back into her past life to do with children and childbirth and getting pregnant, we went to a lifetime where she died in childbirth. And when you think about all the lifetimes that you've had, and there's many lifetimes in ancient civilizations where most women had births that went wrong or died in childbirth.
For sure.
Then it makes sense that you've had an experience like that. And so that's where we went, and she died in childbirth, and she said, I've left two souls behind me, which I presumed were two kids, or it might have been her husband and a kid, who knows. But there was all this grief and sadness of childbirth isn't safe, and so we needed to clear all that. So we cleared that in that lifetime, and when she came back, she just felt this ease and freedom to fall pregnant now. There was nothing in the background holding her back. And people mightn't have this at a conscious level. It's completely at a different level. It's like when you do tapping and stuff comes up from the subconscious and you go, oh wow, I'd forgotten about that. Well, with the work that we're doing, it's not even subconscious. It's coming from your Akash. It's coming from your past lives that are stored in your DNA in what we call the junk DNA. So it's in that multi-dimensional quantum layers of DNA that all of your lifetimes are stored, and you're walking around with it. So it's there in you, even though consciously you may not think about it or know about it. You may have a feeling of it's not safe or something like that, but you don't know where it comes from. And that's where this work finds it, because it's at a soul level. It's so deep that you're not even aware that it's there. And there was another lady who she was in my workshop, and she'd recently been married, and of course people were saying, well, when are you having kids? And she just had this innate fear of what if I have a boy? I can't have a boy. It's like, what if I can't get pregnant because what if I have a boy? I can't have a boy. And there was just no logical reason for it. But there was this huge fear. And of course, there's no way she was going to get pregnant with this huge fear of I can't have a boy. And so in the past life regression in the workshop, she went back to a lifetime where she had an only boy, an only son, and he died in the war. And it was like the boys were sent to war. If you had a boy, they were sent to war, and you would lose. So she brought back that fear with her that whatever you do, don't have a boy because he's going to get sent to war and he'll die. And so we had to clear that. And so we cleared that. It's not just having the recognition of where it comes from. You do need to work on it with quantum EFT and clear it. And so we cleared that with quantum EFT, and within 6 months she sent me an email saying she's pregnant and it's a boy, and she was happy with that. But then we did do another session on her fear of being a mother, of her fear of not being good enough as a mother.
Yeah. Now, with talking all about this, of course, we're making the big, huge assumption that people believe in past lives. And what I want to just backtrack on that, because there might be some people that are listening out there and go, I don't believe in past lives. But the book, Many Lives, Many Masters, who's written by Dr. Brian Weiss, who's he's a psychiatrist?
Yeah, he was the head of one of the major teaching hospitals, psychiatry.
In Miami, in Florida. Yeah. And he actually, it just stumbled into his office, basically. When
he said, go back to the origin of wherever this began, and next thing she's in a past life, and he's going, what?
Yeah, and he was doing hypnotherapy is what he was doing, and his own clients suddenly just started, and he was amazed too, because he was like, what do I do with this? Well, let's roll with it, because I mean, and he's written many, many books on it. So that's one of those things where you just you just have to believe it or you don't believe it. And
well, the thing is that
for me, I always believed it. I always felt like it was right. It felt right. But in my own personal experience, I actually had a moment where I was tapping. It wasn't even hypnotherapy like what you were doing, but I was tapping with my EFT practitioner, and it was the same kind of question. When do you remember whatever was happening last? When was it most significant? And I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I really feel like I was one of the midwives that was killed in Salem.
Yeah.
And that's why I've had all these issues with, practicing midwifery. And not that I practice well, it's just I always had conflict with doctors and whatever. I have all these amazing stories. I should probably write a book, a memoir. But the point is it came out in a regular EFT session when we were just trying to get to a specific event, and it just sort of bubbled up to the surface. And I just said, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to sound crazy, but she said, no, this makes sense. Let's do it. It's real for you. And I think that's really the takeaway is, if you don't believe in past lives, or it's not part of your, spiritual belief system, that's okay. But it's like the quantum theory and everything that's coming out now with all the quantum physics, is that we have many lives happening actually all at once. Mm-hmm. And they're actually not necessarily in the past. They're like one layer to the side of you or in front of you or whatever.
Exactly.
And
Cryon talks about it as it all being in the now, in the circle now. And that's why when we clear something from what we call as linear beings, the past,
correct.
When we clear that, it's affecting us now because we're in the now with it. And anything that we clear and change and shift in what we call a past life, it's clearing and shifting in us now because it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
And, I've had people on workshops, like on regular EFT workshops, who haven't believed in past lives. Like there's the story of a guy in this book who didn't believe in past lives but had this abandonment issue. And I said, if you have the intention to go to its origin, wherever that is, and we tap on that and go to its origin and ask our DNA, where does this come from? Where is the origin of this? When's the first time I felt this? Suddenly he was an Aboriginal with the bone being pointed at him, and he was being sent out of the community to die out in the...
He was exiled.
Yeah, out in the desert sort of thing. So that's abandonment by everything that you know, by your whole community. And he was tapping and saying, he had all the emotions, he was crying, it was there, it was real for him, he had the experience of it, and yet his consciousness kept saying, but I'm not a past life kind of guy, I don't believe in this stuff. So we're going, even though I'm not a past life kind of guy, but I'm an Aboriginal and the bone's being pointed at me. And we just had to go with the emotions of it. When he got his consciousness out of the way because he didn't believe in it, but just tuned into the emotions of it all, we cleared it.
Perfect.
And so that's what can happen a lot with quantum EFT. It's not always going to past lives. It's going to wherever we need to go in time and space, whether it be in the womb or as a 2-year-old or as a 3-year-old. But more often than not, it is going to soul level stuff. And in the energy that we're in now, the now energy, we're much more able to go into our Akash.
Yes.
If we have the intention and the tools to do that. And that's why there's so many more children being born now in the energy of being in touch with their Akash, where they're coming out and being amazing singers, or they have amazing talents that they've just naturally tuned into their Akash.
Yeah, or what I've experienced with my own kids, because I have they're all in the different layers of kids that are being born, but is they have deeper insight to real life at a younger age, and the things that they say, and it's fun as they go, because I remember what they say, what they've said to me, and then as they grow older, I tell them, this is what you said to me when you were 16 or when you were whatever. And they're like, I don't remember saying that. I said, you did, because I was like, oh my gosh.
They're able to tune in and channel more easily. There's a little video going around on Facebook of this little Asian-looking American girl who's about 5, and she's giving
that one
wisdom to her mother, and she's obviously channeling it. Her eyes go to the side as if she's hearing, and then she's like, and then it's finished, and then it's like, yeah, that's it, that's all I have to say. But
I know, that was amazing.
She's obviously tuning into her Akash and channeling, and that's something that I love with this work, is that we don't only go in and clear stuff, which may be around pregnancy and childbirth or whatever, but we're clearing soul relationships or healing soul relationships. So if you're, when you're pregnant and you're having a child, you've had many soul relationships with that child. And it's about looking at your past soul relationships and healing that. What are they here to teach you? What is there that is unfinished business or stuff that needs to be healed around the relationship? What have they come to teach you? It's the same with babies that come in and are only here for a short while. They come in to teach you compassion, or with the Past Life Regression teacher that I had a private session with him, and I'd had a miscarriage between my first and my second. And when I went into the past life, that soul is my youngest child. So that soul that I lost in between the first two, he chose that it wasn't the right time. He needed to be my baby. He needed to be my youngest, and he needed to come in at a time when I needed him as to be there. And so that's just the way it occurred. And often we do reincarnate with families. So that there's a great story too on one of the videos that I suggest people watch, The Boy Who Lived Again. The Boy Who Lived Before, which is on YouTube, where there's a boy there who was his own grandfather. He remembers being his grandfather. And when they talk about the grandfather, he says, "You mean me?" He remembers being that grandfather. And Cryon says we are all our own ancestors. So there is a huge correlation with our family. So yeah, it's quite amazing. I'm quite sure that one of my nieces is my mother, reincarnated, and it was a knowing that I had.
Yeah.
So doing this work helps to release soul connections that weren't so good, that you've got something to learn about.
Yeah, that you didn't learn from. It ended too soon, and you didn't get the message.
Yeah.
So
there's also soul contracts and agreements, which is something that we look at in my workshop. Is what is the soul contract or agreement that you had with that soul, or that you have with that soul. So it's looking at your life and the life of your child in a whole different way, or the life of the pregnancy. When you're pregnant, it's about connecting with that soul, and what are you here to teach me, and what lives have we had before. There was another one that's just come to mind. Is there was a lady that came to see me, and her story's in the book, where she had a really rough time with her daughter. Her daughter was about 13, and she said, "It's as if my daughter hates me. She can't stand me. She never talks to me. She's never hugs me. She never says I love you. It's as if she hates me. When I walk into the room, I can feel the hate. There's like no connection." And so when she came to me and we did the past life regression.
And how old was her daughter?
About 13.
Oh, okay, yeah, 13, yeah.
Yeah, when we did the past life regression, and it was interesting because I asked her if she had any connection with a time or a country, and she said, I love England, Shakespeare, old English things, big band music, around the time of the war, and she was Malaysian. So it was interesting that she had this connection. And of course, when we did the past life regression, that's where we went to World War II and in England, and her mother, she was pregnant, and she was with her mother, and her mother had a bandage around her head, and then her mother died, and it was all about sadness and grief, and all she had was sadness and grief for her mother, because her mother was everything to her. And when she lost her mother, it was just all about sadness and grief. There was no love and connection sent to the baby. So the baby inside her, that soul, felt nothing, felt disconnected, and all it felt was sadness and grief. And so what we did was cleared that, and she had the awareness that that soul in her belly, in her past life, was the soul of her daughter now. And so we cleared all the sadness around her and let her know that she sees her mother in many lifetimes, that death isn't death, and that that soul will always be connected with her. And then we had her send lots of love to her baby as she was pregnant in this past life. And then we brought that love forward into today. And she wrote in the book how when she got home, her daughter was completely different. And her daughter got sick soon after. And she wrote a beautiful card to her saying, "Thank you for looking after me. You're the best mother." And she gave her big hugs and, "I love you very much." And she said almost instantly her relationship with her daughter had shifted and changed, because we changed it in time, space and place, in the now, in what we call a past life, and we connected her with that soul. So it's very important for pregnant women to be connecting with that soul. But it's also, if you're not feeling connected with the soul, to find out where that comes from.
Yeah, very good. And that's important. I would think that's probably the big takeaway from our whole conversation. right? Is that
Mm.
um, whether if you're planning on getting pregnant or if you've been pregnant and you're now going on your second or your third or whatever, and you feel like there's something just doesn't feel right, that it's, and you can't pinpoint it in this lifetime, that to be open to the possibility that it could be from a previous
Yeah, that there's unfinished
time
business with that soul.
with your, yeah, with the soul that you, because isn't the whole thing is that there's one soul, like we're all one, this, like I'm a soul in this body. But when I die, I just get a new body, but it's the same soul.
Yeah, and we call that like your higher self.
Oh,
Is
okay, yeah.
Your higher self is that part of you that is the divine, the God part of you that splits off. Part of the higher self splits off and comes down into a body. Now, there's also the theories or and proof that it's not always half-half. It's like, your higher self might split into three and you've got two parallel lives happening.
Right.
And there's actually evidence in my book where Vanessa, who's done a couple of my workshops, in one lifetime she was in the 60s a Chinook helicopter pilot. And in another lifetime it was in the 50s and she was a German professor.
Okay, so now that answers my question, because and I Jenny has helped me tremendously with her Transform Your Life program, because I did your workshop and then I did the Transform Your Life, and I had, I don't know how many different lives, but I'm always so this is my little tell, is that I'm always thinking I'm just making this up.
And that's
I keep thinking I'm just making this up. And so, and that's the scientific part of me, right? My left brain trying to fit, and my linear point of view, right? And so after each time we did a regression, I would and I have yet to, Jenny gives you your videos so you could see them, because sometimes you're not going to remember everything. So the point being, what I'm trying to get at is that I would go after the session, and whatever I could remember, I would Google it and I'd research it to see, is that real? Is that such a thing? And I would find like stuff that was, oh wow, that really happened. Now, I didn't talk to you. This is the first time I'm talking to you about this, and you answered my question, because I thought to myself, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. So one of my past lives, and I even had a name, I forget which one, but I was a radio show personality woman, very well known, and I came up with a name, I came up with a time, and I looked her up, and she was real.
Wow.
She was a real person, and I did find her picture, and she lived, and her show was like in the 1940s, 1950s, and the weird thing is, I found her picture, and I'm like, but she was apparently very famous for the time, because she ended up writing this book about, guess what? People on other planets.
Oh, wow.
Hey, wait. It gets better, because I figured out that, okay, she died at some point, but she died when I was already alive with this life, like now. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe this is not the right person, but yeah, I was very, like, there were so many details that correlated when I did the Google search.
Yeah.
That I thought to myself, how can I know so many details of a person that's really, actually, she was famous for the time, but never wasn't famous enough to, like, oh, Elvis Presley, everyone knows Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's what happens is that you have part of your
tuck
soul
that
in that,
away.
and part of you in that. Mm.
I ended up tucking that away and thought to myself, oh, I just probably made it up. And I don't know. So,
Yeah,
and you answered it. So
yeah,
it
and
takes time.
that's it's really interesting because I want to feature that sort of thing in my next book whenever that comes. So you need to send me that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I have someone at the moment transcribing a lot of the different videos that I've done. But then obviously, like that one that we did with you, you've done more research on it, and there's more after stuff. So
There's
it's
more
like,
after stuff. So yeah, I have to
yeah,
actually go ahead and watch those
yeah,
videos and
yeah.
write down.
But the great thing about doing the private past life regressions in the Transform Your Life program and private ones is that I get to ask questions and you answer me. And it's like, even recently somebody said they were a writer, and I forgot what they said their name was, but I said, what sort of books have you had published and what's your favourite book? And they said, my favourite book was whatever. And I said, do you have it with you? And they said, yeah, it's over here on the bookshelf. I said, go and get it. Describe it to me. It was orangey red colour. I said, and what's your author's name? And she read it out. It was something like Jason R. Smith or something. I can't remember. And then I said, open the book and tell me what date was it published. And she told me. And I said, and what's the publisher? And she told me. It was like, it's so cool because it's like I'm there with them in that past life. And yeah, it's really great. You
Amazing
know,
stuff.
but getting back to pregnancy,
Yeah,
there's
getting back to pregnancy,
because we could
we
talk
could
about
go
this forever.
we could go anywhere in the universe, as you well know.
Yeah, as you have. I mean, Brian talks to us about we don't just have our human Akash, we have our planetary Akash, because we have been on many planets and we're now on planet Earth. So, that can be a little bit more out there for some people, but
Yeah.
you've had many lifetimes as we have done in our past life regressions where you've been on different planets and then looked them up and gone, oh, there is such a planet.
Yeah. It's
Mm.
very interesting stuff. So what's the one takeaway that you want someone who's pregnant to know from our conversation today?
That there's so much more to just being pregnant. It's not just about the physical health and the emotional health of you. It's about also becoming aware of who are you as a soul and who is this baby inside of you as a soul, and what sort of soul relationship have you had with them before. And it's totally about connecting with them on a soul level, and asking what are you here to teach me? What is the unfinished business we have? And tapping into that. It's quite amazing. I did have a session also with a friend of mine, and she came to me when she was only just pregnant, and she'd had a miscarriage before, and she was scared of being a mother. And there was this huge fear around being a mother. What if I don't do a good job? And all this fear. And she was scared that the fear of her not being good enough as a mother had made the first one abort, or had lost,
Wow.
was why she had the miscarriage, and she didn't want to have a miscarriage again. And so we did all the quantum EFT. It was and it was about then connecting with that baby and finding out where the fear of being a mother was, and it was about her childhood and fear of her family situation, and we cleared that. And then we had this huge connection of the baby in her, and she saw her as a little blonde little girl. She didn't know what the sex was or anything, and she saw her as the blonde little girl that she was once we cleared everything, with a loving family and a loving mother and all the rest. And then that's what occurred. She had this beautiful little blonde girl, and there was this huge connection. And interesting enough, I have a huge connection with this little girl as well.
Oh, wow. Wow.
because I was there as part of that connecting with her. Mm.
That's amazing. You have so many amazing stories, and
Yeah.
we could go on and on and on. But what I suggest that everyone do is buy your book because, especially if you're already if you've read like Many Lives, Many Masters. I mean, this is like the next level of that whole uh, way of healing, being able to heal your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
yeah, the
good stuff as well. Like, I remember
yes,
we did with you, you'd had a past life as a belly dancer, which is your hobby, one of your passions as well. But it was all about you had another lifetime as in the perfumery,
yeah,
where in Paris, and you're very into essential oils and that sort of thing. It's like finding where your passions come from and
yeah.
reinforcing that and knowing that that's where this came from, and you had a lifetime as a belly dancer, and that they used belly dancing as also a means to have good childbirth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, what happens, you get to wonder, well, why am I so, you know, you drawn to
So
this particular thing, or why is this important to me? Or if you have those kind of questions coming to you, and you're trying to figure out, is it in your best interest, or you're trying to learn. I think it's almost, in a way, it's also like a good super learning technique, because if you've done it before, then you can bring that knowledge in the here and now, and then it's just easier to study. So there's so many ways you can use quantum EFT. I think it just not only as when you're pregnant, but even like once you're parents and you're raising your children, and you're wondering, why is there like
why
you
is this
said,
child like this, and why is this child always aggravating me?
yeah,
Yeah.
what is it? Yeah, and you could go back and heal all that. So what's really neat is it's there's no limit to what you can heal with
Mm.
it, which is what I love about it. So
Yeah.
with that, I want to make sure everyone it knows that Jenny's coming back to the U.S.
No, this time I'm coming and
When
doing a workshop in Florida with you.
I know. So if you're in Florida, she's going to be here in Florida in July 23rd, something like that. But
Yeah.
where can everyone, because everyone will see this all over the place. So where can they get your dates? So like a town
Okay, so
to them.
if you go to, and you can see it up here, quantumeft.com.au, the AU is for Australia, and then /workshops. It tells you about all the workshops I have all around the world. If you specifically want to look at the US workshops, it's quantumeft.com.au /package. That's for the US ones. And for the 3 Canadian workshops, it's /info.
Okay.
I also have all that information on tappingintopastlives.tv. Quantumeft.com.au, you get 3 free videos as well from different workshops that I've done. You also get the first 3 chapters of my book for free on tappingintopastlives.tv. I also have quantumeft.com.au /ebook-offer. So in my ebook dash offer, I have all the videos. It's on tappingintopastlives.tv as well. All the videos from the book,
Okay.
and some of the videos from the last North America tour.
Perfect. And what we're
then,
going to do is because this is going to be on YouTube. So in the description area, you'll send me all those links.
yeah.
So you just click, and get more information on Jenny and how to contact her, how to come see her.
Yeah, because
So
I'm coming
fun.
in the US, Seattle first,
Ooh,
then
nice.
Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, then I've got Amherst, New Hampshire, then there's Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and then there's New York, and then Salt Lake City.
Sweet. And
Yeah.
and that's actually, you're going away for the winter in your world.
Yeah. I skip winter here, and I just have a double summer. I have 2 summers. But I'm also doing a workshop in a couple of weeks in Brisbane, in Australia, and then in October I'm doing Wellington, New Zealand, and then November I think I'm doing Australia again, Melbourne. Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
awesome.
easy.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Jenny, for being on childgrowthwithgrace.tv. It is always fantastic talking to you. Amazing stories. And for the viewers, I'm so glad you tuned in all the way to the end. And until next time, keep tapping and let the loving tree of your celestial family be your guide to awaken your life power. Stay present in the moment, in the now, enjoy life, and be well. And Jenny, it's awesome talking to you. All right. We'll see you next week, everyone. Okay. Bye.